thought-provoking podcast that sheds light on the challenges faced by young people living in urban areas. We highlight the resilience and creativity of young leaders who are finding innovative ways to overcome the challenges our young people are facing, inspiring listeners to take action to support them. This is A Different Cloth.
Hey everybody, welcome back to A Different Cloth podcast. Look, here at A Different Cloth, our aim is to inspire, challenge, and equip the next generation of leaders, dreamers, and change makers who aim to make a difference in a different way. And so we're so grateful that you're here. If you are watching this, take a moment, like, subscribe, share, do whatever you got to do, but join us on this journey as we lean into a different cloth. We got back to my left. My guy, Angel, is rocking with us again today, all the way straight out of the mean streets of New York.
Yeah.
Welcome to the West Coast,
Menifee.
the best coast. Oh, Menifee now.
Mean
So
I
I tried to give you like an intro, you know.
Big M's.
All right, cool. And then we have an incredible guest, actually a new friend of ours and a friend of our ministry here, none other than Myla, and we're gonna get to know her quite a bit. She does quite a bit, and I love it.
Dancer extraordinaire.
Yes, and we're gonna get into
Lawyer extraordinaire.
But professionally, your job is what?
Yeah, so I am an attorney here in California. I mostly practice civil litigation. So I do business litigation, I do real estate litigation, employment litigation, and for fun, I always say I like to do trademarks.
Okay. All right. So litigation. Now, is that like all right, I watched the show Suits. Okay. So just look, telling on myself, how similar is it? Or is it completely different?
It's more like
Lincoln.
It's more like Lincoln Lawyer.
You guys are so funny. So that's gonna be dramatized, but there are little bits and pieces that are kind of very similar. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair. Thank you for humoring me on that end. Sorry.
And I'm sorry, I'm not wearing my suit right now. So
Well, which is actually such a cool part of you and your story is when we met, the first thing I think you mentioned was like that you actually have a hip hop dancing background, right? And I was like, how often do you meet a hip hop dancing attorney? Like in the courtroom 1 second and then b-boy in the next, you know what I mean? And so
it's like Your Honor.
Hey, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So tell me, all right, so let's hip hop dancing, when that start, where'd that come from, why hip hop dancing, and then we'll get into the attorney's side.
Yeah, so when I was young, I always enjoyed music, and for some reason, dance had always been my thing. I think I started dancing maybe when I was 5-6 years old, and then after I took some lessons.
Now, what kind of dancing at 5-6 years old? You was just like Dougie in, or like, you know?
Well, it's mostly freestyle,
Okay.
and then I did get classically trained in high school.
Like Save the Last Dance kind of move.
Hey.
Trying to figure it out. Yeah. So, and I remember I was introduced to hip hop because in high school at that time, I remember the movie You Got Served.
Oh yeah, that was my
That was
movie.
a big hit. And my friends and I were, we can probably do that.
You know, I used to like study those dance videos.
Really?
Like in real life, I'm not even playing. I used to be like,
They should bring it back.
they should, for real.
You know, I used to teach these kids in the assemblies I used to do. I used to teach them this thing.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got served. And
Yeah, and then a bunch of my friends, we started learning how to do hip hop ourselves, like in the garages of our homes.
Ooh.
And we put up mirrors that we would get from like Home Depot, and you would just literally copy the moves until I realized that there were actually studios that taught hip hop, not just the music videos or the movies. And then in college, we would take a lot of classes. And I think in high school, we made our first performance at a school rally.
Oh,
So
fire.
it's actually on the internet, Gretchen. I'm not telling them who it is, but
I will go find it.
We're gonna clip it.
Right, we're gonna go do the research.
yeah. So I actually,
That's awesome.
started dancing hip hop at a school rally.
Okay.
Yeah, and at that time, it was also a new form of dance. I went to Redlands East Valley, and a lot of the faculty, they didn't know about this kind of dance. It wasn't really introduced to them, so they were really appreciative, and they were excited that we were performing.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, I got so many thoughts around dancing, so I'm trying to hold back the like nerd in me that wants to like nerd out on dancing for a second.
Guys, Jose also had a dance ministry.
We didn't have to say that.
He has,
brother.
he has some moves. He has some moves.
They're gonna battle at the end of this.
No, but I was thinking the You Got Served thing. Like, did you ever see that tutorial version of that where they actually had like a tutorial of those dances?
No, I didn't. Are they still up there?
I don't know. It's been a long time, but like that's what I said. Like, part of you want to go in.
They're gonna email it to you later. Like, hey, this is what I'm talking about.
All right. So anyways, thank you. That's awesome. After high school, did you continue to dance? Was that like a thing for a while?
Yeah, so actually I had to make some difficult decisions just because I was going to school. I paid myself through school. I worked like 3 jobs, and then I went over to the University of California, Irvine, over at UCI.
Wow.
Go Anteaters, zot zot. And
Wait, Anteaters is their
yeah,
mascot?
Anteaters,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
And I had to choose like whether or not I wanted to continue dancing or if I wanted to continue my education, do well in school. And I knew that dancing was a huge part of my life. But I also knew that I wanted to pursue either, at that time, it was either going to be business or it was going to be the law. So, and it's kind of funny where I ended up.
Yeah.
But after a while, after like praying about it, I really felt the Lord tell me specifically that to pursue education, that dancing for me was more about community, more about connecting, more about expressing myself, and I was content. I was a little bit sad because I didn't further my career with the competition team, but I think I'm still involved and I love to support, and I'm still in the community. So
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. We work with a lot of students, right? We know arts is such a big thing with young people. Like, I know the community and the friendship and camaraderie that's built from there. If you could go a little deeper into that angle, why do you think it's so important for young people to be plugged into a healthy outlet like dance or something of the sort?
yeah, I think because it gives an opportunity for people to really express themselves and to feel that they're not alone. And I think like when creatives come together, a lot of creativity comes out.
That's good.
And I feel that when you don't have a community, you how are you able to share like what you have inside? And like you can do it on your own, of course, but I think what's most important is being able to feel like you belong somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think having that community is really helpful, and also to encourage you, whatever you're doing. And they just understand you, and it's a vibe when everyone is like, creating together, either singing or dancing or playing instruments. It's hard to explain, but there's a vibe.
Yeah. I think the other thing that like I always used to think of as a dancer was like, man, dancing was like a language. Like it like felt like that. It was like, and for real, it was like a way to communicate with an audience. Like whatever you're feeling, whatever your expression is. I don't know what that is, but like
that was good. That's modern dance right there, Angel.
But yeah, it was that like, man, I get to talk through these moves to whoever it is that I'm battling or participating with. So yeah, that was great.
I do have a question, because you did speak about dancing, then you went towards the community part. Was there a moment in the dancing when you realized like, oh, this is why this community is here? Was there like ever like a personal moment or like a moment where you told yourself like, okay, this is more than just dance. Like I'm developing like possibly long lasting friendships, or like I'm going through this thing and all I want to do is, just be with this group,
Yeah. Are you talking about when I was in college, or can I talk about now?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, what you described recently occurred with me. I think that over the past couple of years, I kind of stopped dancing when I went to law school. Not that I didn't want to, but I just had to stay focused and achieve my goals there. But after law school and after becoming an attorney, I really felt that there wasn't anything out there for me in terms of a creative like community. And it is weird to come back and now you're the lawyer, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not just a lawyer, I also have other parts to me. And so I searched, and coming later in the game, it's even another another thing to kind of overcome. It's like, okay, well, you're not doing this for, commercial. You're not doing this because you want to be a dancer. Like, what are you doing? Even when I was around like the, professional arts community. But I just happened to, go take some classes on my own. And it was really nice to have a supportive group. One of my friends, Deontay, right now, he's aspiring artist right now. He was one of those friends that really encouraged me to come back. And I told him, I was like, I am not coming back to a hip hop class, like over at Playground. And I was like, let me just push myself and just see. And it's been such a long time that I went into the classroom and I started learning those moves. And it's really like, most people say, it's like, riding a bike and getting to know the people. It just, I don't know, it just felt like really nice to know that I am not just this one particular person. I can also be like, who I am in the same space.
That's powerful. I think of my perception of attorneys, right? Like, and even when you told us when we met, like I'm an attorney. We knew that from the jump. And then you're like, oh, and I used to hip hop dance. And I think my eyes are like, whoa, wait, like, where'd that come in? When you talk about like the perception of attorneys and stuff from like just the like lens of just your average person, how hard is it to get outside of that bubble or that box that people try to put you in from an attorney standpoint?
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult, I will have to say. And I think that was like a perfect example where I met both of you at, is that when I heard, oh, they hip hop dance, I was like, oh, I was already like, I'm
Angels.
I'm you in Angel. But that was a perfect example. It's like, oh, I can, these are my people. I have something to connect with, But when it comes to, the profession, it's hard to say, but there's roles that you have to play.
Sure.
And I think that not many people have an advantage to have a creative outlet or to be a part of a creative community with those lawyers in the profession.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool because if you have other parts to you, that's what you need to bring, to your profession or to your workplace or to your school, because you never know, that may be the conversation that they needed to hear to kind of ignite what they have inside or what they want to do. And it's kind of like waking them up, like, oh, I can do something else, like without having to just be one particular like stereotype, I guess.
Yeah. I think what's dope about it is not a bad thing at all. I've never met someone like you where you are like, you're breaking the barriers of what an attorney is, right? And then also what being creative is and what's a dancer. And it's almost like you don't have to stop this if you're doing this, or you don't have to, like, you can do both. That's totally fine. And I love the bringing it with you thing is phenomenal. Just being completely you, being different from a different cloth.
Yeah,
now, on the attorney side of things, like, how are you in like litigation? Are you like just cutthroat? Is that like a whole nother side of Myla that we don't know yet? Like, what is that like? and you factor in the Jesus factor too, right? Because like when I think of like law and attorneys and what I've seen on TV, at least, like, well, my family got a criminal background, so I've seen the other side of it on that side too, right? Like, but like when I see that, I think cutthroat. I think a dog. Like, you gotta like get in there and fight and like till the end, right? How is Myla in that context? So I want to know. I'm curious.
That's so funny, Jose. Yeah. I lead a Bible study group for women, and my ladies always ask me the same question: can we watch? And I'm always like, y'all don't want to watch. I'm just kidding. No, out of fairness, I do keep professionalism, and I hold my position with high regard.
Awesome.
I being an attorney is an incredible privilege, and we are literally the gatekeepers and the guardians of our Constitution, both the U.S. as well as California.
Wow.
So with that being said, I do just try to hold myself to that standard. And I mostly work a lot with churches and small and medium-sized businesses, because I feel that they should have the same representation as some of our bigwig, corporations and whatnot. So I always want to make sure that I provide trust.
Okay.
And so, because they are entrusting me with their hardest problems, with their operations and with what they're going through. So, but at the same time, I'm also a person, so I'm not scary. I'm not scary. I really am not. But let's just say, it's just like playing a game, right? Or like playing basketball, football. When the game is there, it's time for you to get focused and time for you to start playing. So,
wow, that's dope.
Can you share a time where, because you say you work with churches and small or medium-sized businesses. Can you share a time where you, like, I don't want to say it this way, but you actually came through for a church or a small business that was in need, and it's almost like, this is why I do it. This is why I serve in the capacity I serve,
Yeah, actually what comes to mind is, I think a couple years back, I was working with a couple of missionaries. They were missionaries in China, and apparently they had a judgment against them because prior to that, they owned a small business, and there was a situation involved where they didn't receive the papers, and so they didn't know about it. And so here they are spending almost like 20 years in, China, and then they want to come back to America, and they check their mailbox, and boom, there's like a judgment there because they didn't come to court, and now you have interest on top of that. So it was a almost like a 5-figure judgment that they had to pay. And I'm dealing with the missionaries come to my office, and they're asking me, we have money, but we don't have this much to be able, to pay the cost. And thanks to our nonprofit side of our law firm, I was able to, do the case on pro bono status.
Oh, wow.
And it was incredibly difficult because I am trying to get the judge to go back in time to a time where the judgment was not in the 5 figures because of the interest and the time. And literally, I prayed unto the Lord, because I always tell everybody this, that even though I'm an attorney and I review laws like on a daily basis, the one that has the most wisdom is our Lord Jesus Christ. And so if I don't know something, I know that he knows. And so by the grace of God and much prayer, we were able to turn the judgment, and it went down to like a small amount, like I think a couple thousand. And at that time they were just extremely thankful. And at that time, I took a moment and I realized, like, I'm really being used as a vessel, and I love being able to help our people. So
that's so good. When I think of like just that, even that whole situation, and from an attorney perspective, you get to see people at their like absolute worst, right? Like most people don't need an attorney until like stuff has hit the fan, right? So it's like we're knee deep in it now. We don't know what to do. How do you handle that well without judgment, without like, and maybe there is some of that, I don't know, but like how do you, like, especially because I hear your heart and like, I want to help people in this. I want to like be for small businesses and churches. And then some of this, I'm sure you see like, you shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so how do you steward that well, where you see people at their worst and you don't, or do cast judgment or whatever, like. So I'll tell you why I'm asking. Let me get my thoughts together. The reason that question came up, because sometimes it's really hard to see somebody at their very worst and not have your own assumptions or judgments or things, or want to pull out and I can't help you because of this. So hopefully that question makes sense. But like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so I would have to say I handle that with a lot of compassion. Okay. And what you just said brings another case that I had. And this lady, she literally was stealing money from her employer. And this is why I don't do criminal law, but which is also a blessing because her employer didn't want to press charges criminally. So already I'm alerted, God is up to something. And so on our first consultation, I asked her the question, so did you take it? And she cried and she said yes. And I said, thank you, because I can work with that. Wow. And just as Jesus forgives us, we should forgive those. So I said, now that you've like shared that with me, it's my job to minimize the damages that could be paid. but you know what you did. And from there on, I just have a lot of compassion for that lady, and we were able to get that case settled too. So
that's dope. I love the compassion that you hold for that and people, and knowing that she's guilty. Like, we work with students who sometimes are guilty, and attorneys don't always hold that same compassion. No. And so from the attorney perspective, what's missing there? Or like, what do you hope for colleagues? Just like, man, I wish you would get this in light of, because I mean, you've seen our program, you've seen some of the kids that we serve, right? And man, like some of them just need somebody to stand and fight with them, right? And for them. And so that compassion part is getting me a little emotional, just because like not everybody has that. Not everybody, because sometimes you could see somebody and you're guilty, and I'm just gonna throw the book at you, right? And so what do you hope for, just like in don't get me wrong, and accountability. So I don't want to avoid them of accountability. Okay, I just want to make that really clear. I'm not saying like let them off or give them a pass, but I wish there would be more compassion in light of the legal system that we currently see, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was in law school, actually, I was thinking about going into dependency work, which is usually for juveniles and for those children that are going into the foster care system. Okay. And is one of the reasons why I also felt that I want a different direction. When it comes to compassion, I think many people don't really know what it is. Okay. And I see that a lot with attorneys. Don't hurt me. Have compassion. But really, I think compassion just starts with, putting yourself in their shoes, right? And like you mentioned, Jose, there's an accountability part, right? Yeah. And if you have somebody that is willing to come forward and they are willing to do the work, and it's not going to be perfect. I think everyone should know that. But if you're seeing little changes in their behaviors, in their habits, to hopefully one day have a lifestyle that's far removed from your past, then that's great. Yeah. And I think that I would hope that, our attorneys out there would understand what that meant. And some of them actually came from privileged backgrounds. I think that's incredible. You were blessed, to have that opportunity, or, they were given some type of help. That's great. But just look back at, how far you have come. The bar exam definitely humbles you. And really just put yourself in their shoes, right? So
it's good. Where'd that come from for you? Like, cause it's not every day you come across an attorney that just has that.
Yeah, I think, myself, like I also grew up in the foster care system. Okay. So I think at a very young age, I shouldn't have learned as much as I did, but I did, and it's for good reason. And I think that allowed me to know that, at a young age, there are some experiences out there that people may not have gone through, like what I did. Yeah. And after I reconciled my family, I made it a mission to, if I didn't receive something in my life, then I was going to be that person. And so till this day, I still carry that mission.
Wow. So you and your family reconciled?
Yes.
Wow.
It is possible, yes.
That's powerful. That's powerful. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and kind of pull out of the heaviness, because we could stay in there for real, because I think that's really rich right now. But you came in contact with us at a business gathering, right? You heard our story, you heard the work we're doing, and then you got to come see it firsthand. What was that experience like for you, seeing it in action? What came up for you? What were your thoughts around the whole process? Just your vantage point from there.
Yeah, it was so crazy, I have to say, pulling up, and I haven't been into a high school in the longest time. So I was also trying to figure out the parking situation, try to figure out, where the auditorium was at. I was like, oh my goodness. And so just walking in there and seeing the rag team just pull this together, it was amazing to see. And it was so fast too.
Oh, that was.
I
remember that day now. We had an issue. I left the keys. That was on me. I left the keys, and then we had to wait for somebody to bring the keys to open up the lock, and we had like 15 minutes to set up. That was wild.
Yeah, that was amazing. And just seeing the whole production and just seeing all of your hearts and sharing the testimonies that you did, that was just so amazing. Also, I took a chance to look around and look at the students and just seeing their eyes light up, and also the when they were playing games, that was really fun. And then of course, like at the end, when it became a concert, I was like, okay, this is a little bit different. Yeah. And then when the beats start, I just can't, like, even right now I'm like getting up and like moving around, like, and here I am on stage, I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah.
No, but it was really uplifting, and like there isn't anything that I've seen. That's one of the reasons why, when I heard about, your organization, I was like, oh, this is really different. This is really great, because so often, I think there's a separation between, Christian organizations and secular organizations, and which is fine. I think it's, sure, there's a time and place for that, but we also can't, forget that, we can also integrate, and we can share what we have to, share, because there might be some students out there that, may not come across a Christian organization for whatever reason, right, but they see that commonality, they see that interest in like music, dance, or art, and then the conversations start happening.
Wow. Thank you for that. That's cool just to hear your experience, because I don't even know that we fully debriefed it there either. So to hear that right now is awesome. So.
I heard there's videos. I'm scared.
Oh, we got to post a clip on this one.
No.
No, that was awesome. Yeah, that was a great assembly that that one was a really fun one. And so to have you there was really awesome. And so thank you.
I do have a question. So I kind of want to go. I want to go back into the deep real quick.
Yeah.
You did mention how some other attorneys we're fortunate enough to privileged, etc. What was the difference maker for you growing up? How you grew up, the challenges you've had to face. What was the difference maker in you saying like, yeah, I'm just not gonna do anything, or I'm just gonna just stay down here? It seems like you went for what you wanted creatively, you went for what you wanted in education, you went for what you wanted in career. Yeah. Like it doesn't like seem like anything stopped you from what you wanted. Like, can you speak about, I guess, that mindset, or what was that for you that made you say like, nah, like, all right, I may have like, what does Erica say? My what happened to me isn't my fault, but my response.
It's not your fault, but healing is your responsibility.
Yes, that. Yeah. It sounds just like that. Yeah, it sounds just like that.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a shocker, kind of interesting. There's a lot of different parts to me. So when I was in high school, I went to Redlands East Valley, but I actually grew up in San Bernardino. Okay. And I don't know if they do this anymore, or if this is even like legal, but my mom told me that, she wanted me to have a better life. And at that time, I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, I'm going to miss all my friends. So it was a culture shift. The high school that I went to had a little bit, more money. And I also got a new friend group, and I had to adapt. But one of the major things that kind of it motivated me to want to go after what I want, actually, was when I did choir. And it was the first time that I heard, chamber music, and I literally fell in love with it. And I auditioned for it, and there was also classical parts to it, and I was able to travel on competitions with my high school. Wow. To New York and all over California. And I think I realized that there's a whole different world than like San Bernardino. And I was just going to school in Redlands. Wow. And here, at this school, at these opportunities that were provided for me, I was able to see a whole different world I never, expected. And, by the grace of God, like these new communities, these new places have embraced me. There were some challenges, little differences, but for the most part, because my eyes were open to like new things, I was able to, realize that I can do things,
Yeah.
But I will say though, it took me a lot of courage to audition for choir, because in middle school I auditioned and I didn't make it. And I was like, oh, then I can't do this. So I had to like overcome that. But and also overcoming, is also a big factor. Like once you overcome like any kind of failure or any kind of setback, like you feel more motivated to continue on for your dreams.
Yeah. The worldview component of that shifts when you get to travel and you have opportunities to see new things, is honestly one of the things that I feel like is missing from the hood. I remember my first mission trip. Like I had a goal when I was 12 to be a local gang and drug dealer, because that was all I saw. And I remember getting on a flight like 15 years old, going to another country. We were in this other country and we were doing, ministry, and kids were walking to school barefoot right past guys with machetes. And I thought my hood was bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I came from a rough area and I was like, oh shoot, but this ain't that. And I felt like what that did is it just opened my horizons. There's a world out here way beyond my like little scope here. And so just hearing you like have the exposure you had, and because I would assume that some of the friends that you had from the Dino probably didn't have the same opportunities to get to travel and things like that. And so it really does matter, especially in the life of a young person who doesn't know much.
Yeah. And I think also, it starts with just taking that next step. Like you don't know if you're not going to get accepted. Like you don't, and, just see and what's going to happen next. And I think like a lot of people, they don't want to just try and just to see what happens, but just try. You never know what's going to happen. There's lots of opportunities that you could, definitely participate in.
Yeah. As a parent, I actually think it's really dope what your mom did too, because she also didn't settle. She also doesn't say like, well, this is the cards we're dealt. Like go make it work however you can. It was almost like, no, we're going to try to make you go over here. Just even if it's just a little bit more money that the school has, you know what I mean? It could be something so simple just like that. So I think that's really dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also too, it's important for those that have came from backgrounds like us to go into these new spaces, because we bring a unique perspective that they will never be able to.
Flavor.
Yeah, and flavor. Yeah, definitely. And I think, but also too, they share their stories because it's also not perfect on their side too.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a coming of the minds together and an exchanging of culture, exchanging of experiences, and we can learn something from you and you can learn something from us. That's what the mentality I had like going through high school.
Yeah. That's such a powerful thought. So I just got me excited about just that, because I used to think assimilation like had to happen because I had to assimilate to what they wanted me to assimilate to in ministry or whatever kind of business, whatever, college, the whole 9 yards, right? So it's like I come from my rough area, my rough background. I come into your context. Now I got to become like you, right? But even just hearing what you're saying, and I've seen it over my life, it's like actually I carry a lot more value when I still keep my authentic self. I'm just invading your space with my authentic self. Maybe invading is a bad word, but I'm integrating your space with my authentic self, with my story and my upbringing and my gifts, and then the beauty that gets to happen, especially in the world we live in now, where the world is becoming more urban by the day, right? Where hip hop culture and stories are being told left and right, and there's just such a value to that. And so like these young people that we reach on a day-to-day basis, they carry a lot of value that they get to bring into these new spaces that I think people can value. And I think to your point, like that's what you've experienced. Like you got to bring your full self into some of those, and you didn't have to only assimilate. You didn't have to only be like them. And so this is a dope concept that I didn't know that growing up. I thought I had to just be like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fire. I got another question. I got questions for days. Okay, so given that you're like a vet in the game with your dancing, your creativity, your art, but also a vet as like an attorney, right? Can you speak on like younger attorneys or younger dancers that you get to mentor or kind of speak into, like, oh man, I was just like you, or like you can do both, or you can battle both, or you don't have to, like, you know, put the creative away just when you walk into work? Like, what's some of those relationships like, or some of those conversations like?
Yeah, it's funny that we always talk about this all the time. I actually have a coworker in my office who I recently found out that she used to do opera in college. So her bachelor's degree is in opera. And I kept on telling her, you should come back. You know, I came back. So I actually came back as, and I went back to classical. So I actually currently take some ballet lessons right now.
Oh, fire.
And
Me too.
I see him on some classes. So. But really, I think the conversation is really about just being truthful to yourself. And I think it's a lot more freeing when you can be who you want to be. And I think that it goes back to like the assimilation part. Are there some things that you kind of have to, you know, maybe assimilate? Maybe, you know, sure. I can't just show up like this in court, right? I have to wear a suit.
Good luck.
Right.
But as long as like there's purpose behind, you know, what I'm doing, then I think it's okay, right? I can still, you know, maybe wear the suit, but maybe, I don't know, I you know, have a pinstripe on my suit, you know, so it adds a little bit of flavor.
Or some Jordans.
You know, exactly. So I think there's ways that you could, you know, be who you are. And when it comes to like the creative space, because, you know, a lot of my creative friends, they're just purely doing creative work, which I think is also great. But I also tell them too, like, hey, you know, there's a business aspect. Yeah. There's this whole other side that you need to be well versed, especially if you want to come out and do something independent. Yeah. You know, make sure that like you consult somebody, or just, you know, make sure you have your resources. It's almost like, you know, managing both. And I think that you just got to find out your way. So
yeah, that's good.
I'm curious, two different like hats, right? From the attorney perspective, what do you wish more people understood and like got, like when you think about just the world we live in and the spaces that you take up mostly, both whether that be from the church perspective, local communities like San Bernardino where we are, like from the attorney perspective, what just like grinds your gears and you're like, oh, I just wish you would get this?
That's a tough one, Jose. I think to do your due diligence and to take some time, is, you know, I'm thinking in the realm of business. Sure. You know, I think that's where kind of creatives and lawyers kind of meet together. Yeah. I think you know, going out there, just making sure, you know, to check, you know, that things are kosher, bylaws, you know, contracts even, and just so that you're covered. And I think that maybe, you know, just be more aware of like what's going on, and there are people there to help you out. I know that there's a saying that, you know, lawyers, they're liars, or, you know, run away, or we're ambulance chasers. Like, no, we're cool. Like, you know, at least some of us,
she is, at least.
Or at least find the one and that's another thing too. At least, you know, when it comes to lawyers can be a good aid to whatever business or to whatever endeavor that you're, you know, working with. And just like your doctors, right? Yeah. Hopefully we don't get to see you as often. As a litigator, I'd never want to see you, but as an attorney that like reviews contracts and whatnot, you know, find your person, find your attorney that can really give you advice, could really help you out.
That's so good. I think about the countless people that I know in ministry, that, man, I wish they had somebody and just in their corner, you know, like just protecting their stuff, like making sure you're good, you're, you know, covered, like you said, like, because I've seen way too many situations where something goes down, you get played, like, you know, and then you're like, oh, I don't have like anything to stand on now. And so I love that. Thank you for that. From the other perspective, the creative perspective, what do you wish people knew from a creative angle? Like, man, like I wish, Well, and let's talk more to young people, right?
Yeah.
You know, our audience is primarily in schools. If you were at a class right now with a bunch of students at Rescue a Generation Success Club, what would be that one thing you would want these like young people to know?
I think that I would want them to continue what they're doing and just continue and finish.
Yeah.
I think that's just very simple. Just continue what you're doing and finish. And I see a lot of people not finishing. We like to start stuff, and I think it's great. We can start lots of stuff,
Right.
but what have we finished?
Yeah.
And I think that finishing something is only going to allow you to go to that next step, because it's almost like levels, right? You know, finish level 1, level 2, level 3. And after some years, you're probably, and you probably both experienced this, even with RAG, like, oh my gosh, we're here. You know, remember like where we started, and we just finished that one task that led to this task that led to that. So my advice, you know, for all of those, you know, creatives is, you know, continue your art, whatever that is. It may not look like where you want it to be, but that's where practice comes into play. That's where you have a special ability to pour out yourself and just finish, you know, what you're doing.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Great. Myla, from your perspective, what does it mean to be cut from a different cloth?
To be cut from a different cloth? I don't know why I'm thinking blankets, but
Quilts.
see, that's my creative side going. See, if you're in my brain, you know,
She said blankets. I'm feeling covered.
like, you know, I think Angel's about to do a rap right here.
Hey.
Blankets, feeling covered.
Jacqueline doesn't want me to.
That is awesome.
I think, you know, to me that just means that, you know, I'm true to who I am. I know who I am, and I'm here to
Facts.
represent. So
Oh, I love that. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for representing so well. We appreciate you. We're cheering you on just in your
Thank you,
journey,
thank
and
you.
we're grateful for your friendship and support here. So
yeah, no, thank you.
For those who are listening and do want to like, oh, where can they see you, find you, reach you? Is there an Instagram? Is there a dance class that they can check out? Is there a group of dancers or a community? Like where would like, oh, someone who's like, I want to be more involved.
And is
in
there a
that
legal
space?
place where maybe there's a ministry person here listening? It's like, hey, I need some legal stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not really on social media. Like I was telling both Angel and Jose, like, you guys are special people. I usually don't come on like podcasts or whatnot, but I'll do it for you and for the message, right? So, but I'm on LinkedIn. I know that the young folks, but you also started LinkedIn,
Yeah.
you know, or at least figure out what that is, you know. And when it comes, you might see me at some dance classes over in LA. And, you know, I work at Tyler Law. We also have a nonprofit called Advocates for Faith and Freedom. So feel free to reach out to me there, but or just, you know, find me.
Yeah. Great.
It's fire.
Yeah. Hey, for all of you leaders, dreamers, and change makers, thank you so much for listening. We're excited for this journey that we're all on together. And until the next time, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, share, all of the things, and we'll see you soon.